beside humans. Have you ever noticed how easy it is to ignore something small? Not because it lacks beauty, not because it lacks meaning, but because it has always been there. The sparrow is one of those creatures. In parks, on sidewalks, under coffee tables, on balcony railings, near train stations, inside open-air markets, sparrows exist in the background of our lives like a quiet soundtrack. Their chirping plunges into traffic. Their wings flicker between parked cars. Their shadows move along building walls without ever demanding attention. And perhaps that is why they are so extraordinary. Because surviving in a human dominated world requires more than strength. It requires invisibility, it requires adaptation, it requires patience. The house sparrow, Passer domesticus, is not dramatic like an eagle. It does not soar across vast mountain ranges. It does not hunt with talons or command silence with its presence. It is more compact, earth-colored, unassuming, and that it may be one of the most successful wild birds in human history. To understand sparrows, we have to slow down. Imagine standing still in a city square early in the morning. The air is cool, the shops are still closed. A few delivery trucks are due in the distance. If you look carefully, movement begins to appear at ground level. A quick hop, a sudden flutter, a pair of tiny legs landing beside a breadcrumb. A sparrow tilts its head sideways, one eye fixed, alert, calculating. It is never fully relaxed. Urban life has trained it to expect danger at any moment. A passing shoe, a rolling bicycle tire, a descending pigeon, a stray cat watching from beneath a bend. Every second is a warning, and that within this constant vigilance, sparrows live complex lives. They form partnerships, they raise families, they compete, they cooperate, they communicate continuously. Their world may be measured in meters instead of miles, but within that space exists an entire civilization. Sparrows wake with the light. Before city fully awakens, they are already active. Dawn is their advantage. Fewer humans, fewer disturbances, more access to food. They descend from their night roost, trees, building lattices, dense hatches, and begin scanning the crowd. Their movements appear random to Earth, but they are strategic. Sparrows do not wander aimlessly. They remember food sources. They track patterns. They recognize safe zones. They learn which cafes sweep crumbs outside at certain times. They know which apartment balconies leave out bird feeders. In many ways, sparrows map the city as effectively as humans do. Researchers have observed that urban birds often develop strong spatial memory. For sparrows, that memory is survival. A mistake can be fatal. Unlike large birds, sparrows cannot afford long periods of injury. Their small bodies burn energy quickly. A damaged wing or leg means starvation within days. So they live precisely, measured, alert, efficient. If you watch a sparrow flock long enough, you begin to notice personalities. Some individuals are bold, landing close to humans, grabbing food quickly, tolerating proximity. Others hang back, cautious, waiting, watching. Their variation is not random. Boldness can mean greater access to food, but also greater exposure to danger. Shyness can mean safety, but fewer resources. Urban environments select for flexibility, and sparrows are flexible. That flexibility is one of the reasons they followed humanity across continents. As humans built settlements thousands of years ago, which stored grain. Where there is stored grain, there are spills. Where there are spills, there are small birds ready to adapt. The relationship was never formally agreed upon. We did not domesticate sparrows, they domesticated the human environment. They learned our rhythms, they learned our architecture, they learned our weight patterns, they learned our play sports. And through that learning, they imparted themselves into civilization. Today, sparrows live on every inhabited continent except Antarctica. From cold northern cities to humid tropical towns, from rural villages to dense metropolitan centers. They are not wilderness birds, they are companion species of humanity. But companionship does not mean comfort. City life is unstable. Buildings change, green spaces shrink, noise levels rise, air quality shifts. Food types evolve, and sparrows must continually adjust. The sparrow's body is built for the talent. Small size allows maneuverability in tight urban spaces. Short, rounded wings allow quick bursts of flight, perfect for dodging cars and predators. Their strong conical beak, originally ideal for cracking seeds, now handles everything from grains to processed bread. Even their coloration, brown gray streaked, acts as camouflage against concrete, brick, and asphalt. Nothing about a sparrow is accidental. It's a bird shaped by coexistence. And that, despite their global presence, sparrows are often overlooked in conversations about wildlife conservation. Why protect something so common? Why worry about a bird that seems to be everywhere? But here lies the quiet paradox. In many cities around the world, sparrow populations are declining. The bird we assumed would permanently skewed may not be as resilient as we think. Before we explore that decline, we need to understand just how intricate sparrow life truly is. Because what appears simple is anything but simple. A single sparrow may live 3 to 5 years in the wild. In that time, it may raise multiple broods, different nesting size, navigate territorial disputes, survive winters, avoid predators, adapt to environmental changes. Every day is effort, every day is calculation, and every day they do the desired without applause. The next time you walk through a public square, try it. Stop moving. Stand still for 1 minute. Watch the crowd. You will likely see at least one sparrow. Watch how it pauses. Watch how it listens. Watch how it reacts before you even shift the weight. In that moment, you are not the center of the city. You are simply another moving object in the sparrow's world. And perhaps that perspective shift is the beginning of understanding. Because to truly see urban wildlife, we must first accept that we are not alone in shaping the city. We share it with wings, with feathers, with quiet intelligence. This is not just a story about a small bird, it is a story about coexistence. And coexistence is never simple. If sparrows seem perfectly suited to human cities, that is not an accident. It is the result of thousands of years of quiet evolution. The house sparrow, passer, domesticus, did not simply wander into urban life by chance. Its biology, behavior, and reproductive strategy align remarkably well with the environments humans create. To understand how sparrows became one of the most successful urban birds in history, we need to look closely at their physical design. At first glance, a sparrow appears simple: small body, short neck, rounded wings, stout beak. But each of the features carries evolutionary meaning. Let's begin with size. An adult house sparrow weighs between 24 and 40 grams, roughly the weight of a few coins in the pocket. That small size offers several advantages in cities. First, maneuverability. Urban environments are full of narrow spaces, fence gaps, ventilation openings, roof tiles, drainage pipes, signage frames. Larger birds cannot access the areas easily. Sparrow can. Second, energy efficiency. Small birds burn energy quickly, but they also require smaller food quantities per feeding event. In unpredictable environments like cities where food appears in scattered and inconsistent forms, that matters. A sparrow does not need a large carcass or a massive field of grain. A few crumbs, a handful of seeds, a cluster of insects. That is enough. Now consider their wings. Unlike long-distance migratory birds with long, pointed wings built for gliding. Sparrows have short, rounded wings. This design favors explosive takeoff. In a city, survival often depends on rapid response. A car door slams, a dog lunges, a child runs forward. The sparrow march lunge upward instantly. Rounded wings provide lift quickly, even if they are not efficient for long-distance flight. In fact, sparrows are not long-distance migrants in most regions. They tend to stay within relatively small territories, especially in urban areas. Their world is local, their strategy is stability. Now look at their beak. The sparrow's conical beak is a classic sea-cracker design. Thick, triangular, powerful for its size. Originally, the beak evolved for cracking open tall grasses, but in human environments, it became even more valuable. Grain storage, agricultural fields, spilled cereals, bread crusts. Human civilization built on agriculture unintentionally provided sparrows with a constant supply of seed-based nutrition. The beak that once served grasslands now serves city sidewalks. And sparrows did not stop there. Urban sparrows have diversified their diet beyond seeds. Studies show that they consume insects, spiders, small fruits, food waste, livestock feed, even bad food left outdoors. Their digestive system is adaptable. Their feeding behavior is opportunistic. Their dietary flexibility is a hallmark of urban survivals. Now let's consider reproduction, perhaps the most important factor in their success. Sparrows reproduce quickly. A typical breeding season may produce 2 to 4 broods. Each brood may contain 3 to 5 eggs. In favorable conditions, a single pair can raise more than 10 offspring in a year. This reproductive rate compensates for high mortality. Urban life is endangered. Predation, collisions, disease, pollution. Many young sparrows do not survive their first year, but high reproduction ensures population continuity. And sparrows do something else remarkably well. They nest in human structures. Unlike birds that require specific tree species or isolated habitats, sparrows are cavity nesters with flexible standards. They will build nests in roof eaves, street light fixtures, traffic signs, air conditioning units, storefront lettering, abandoned machinery, construction gaps. Human architecture functions like artificial cliffs and trees. Modern cities are vertical landscapes, and sparrows read the landscapes fluently. In fact, researchers often describe the house sparrow as a commensal species. Commensalism is a biological relationship where one species benefits from another without harming it significantly. Sparrows benefit from humans. They gain shelter, they gain food, they gain warmth from urban heat islands. But they do not directly harm humans in the way parasites might. We rarely think about them. They simply exist alongside Earth. Their relationship began thousands of years ago, likely around the time humans transitioned from hunter-gatherers to agricultural societies. When humans began storing grain in permanent settlements, sparrows found reliable winter food sources. Over generations, sparrows that tolerated human presence had higher survival rates. Gradually, a behavioral shift occurred, while grassland birds became settlement followers. Settlement followers became village birds became city birds. It was not domestication, it was co-adaptation. Interestingly, genetic studies suggest that house sparrows may have evolved certain digestive enzymes that allow them to process starch-rich diets more efficiently, similar to adaptations seen in domestic dogs. That means that human agriculture may have directly shaped sparrow biology, not intentionally, but inevitably. Now, let's look at their sensory abilities. Sparrows possess excellent vision. Like most birds, they have high follicular fusion rates, meaning they can perceive rapid movement better than humans. This allows them to detect approaching danger quickly. They also have a keen hearing, especially tuned to frequencies used in sparrow communication. In cities, while low-frequency traffic noise dominates, sparrows often shift their songs to slightly higher pitches. The behavioral plasticity allows communication despite acoustic pollution. Urban noise does not silence them, they exist. Their brains are also proportionately large for their body size. Studies of urban birds show that individuals living in cities often demonstrate increased problem-solving abilities compared to rural counterparts. Urban environments reward cognitive flexibility. Birds that learn quickly survive. Birds that hesitate may not. So, over time, urban sparrows may become behaviorally sharper. But adaptation has limits. The same urbanization that once benefited sparrows can also threaten them. Modern architecture increasingly uses smooth glass, sealed facades, and minimal external cavities. Where older buildings offered cracks and gaps for nesting, new buildings are sterile and inaccessible. Pesticide use reduce insect populations critical for feeding ticks. Air pollution may affect respiratory health and food quality. And that sparrows persist because persistence is built into their biology. Their lifespan may be short compared to humans, but their generational turnover is fast. Evolution acts more quickly on species with rapid reproduction. and sparrows have had thousands of years to refine their coexistence with Earth. If we zoom out far enough, we see something remarkable. Human civilization did not just save cities, it shaped wildlife. Some species retreated, some vanished, some adapted. The house sparrow is one of the great adapters, not dominant, not majestic, but enduring. Its success is not loud, it's steady. And in the steady rhythm of its wings, we see the blueprint of survival in a human world. Long before skyscrapers, long before highways, long before the walled city even existed, there were sparrows. Not urban sparrows as we know them today, but ancestral forms living in open grasslands and rocky landscapes across parts of Europe, North Africa, and Asia. The early sparrows lived in environments shaped by wind, seasonal grasses, and natural predators. They nested in tree cavities, rocky cliffs, and dense shrubs. Their survival depended on seeds, insects, and constant vigilance. Then something changed. Around 10,000 to 12,000 years ago, humans began building permanent settlements. Agriculture emerged, grain storage began, fields with wheat and barley replaced wild grass patches. For sparrows, that was not destruction, it was opportunity. Where there are concentrated seas, there is food security. Where there are buildings, there are nesting cavities. Where there are humans storing grain indoors, there are accidental spills. At first, the relationship was slightly distant. Sparrows may have stayed on the edges of early villages, feeding on scraps after humans left the fields. But over generations, a subtle shift occurred. The sparrows that tolerated human presence survived better. The sparrows that avoided settlements had fewer consistent food sources. Natural selection began favoring boldness, not recklessness, but tolerance. Individuals that allowed humans within a certain proximity had access to new resources. Over time, though individuals pressed the dance forward, behavior changed gradually. The process is sometimes called synanthropy, when wild animals began living near and benefiting from human habitats. The house sparrow became one of the most successful synanthropic species in history, and then humans began moving. Trade routes expanded, caravans crossed continents, ships sailed across oceans, and sparrows followed, sometimes intentionally, sometimes accidentally. In the 19th century, humans actively introduced house sparrows to new regions. In North America, sparrows were released in cities like Brooklyn in the 1850s. The idea was simple. Sparrows would control insect best. They adapted immediately. Within decades, they spread across the continent. By the early 20th century, house sparrows were present throughout much of the United States and Canada. In Australia and New Zealand, similar introductions occurred. In South America and parts of Africa, sparrows expanded alongside urban growth. The pattern repeated. Where humans built infrastructure, sparrows established populations. They did not require pristine ecosystem, they required human proximity. That makes them different from many other birds. Some species decline rapidly when habitats are disturbed. Sparrows historically thrived, but global expansion came with consequences. In some regions, house sparrows competed with native bird species for nesting sites. They are known to be aggressive cavity competitors. Bluebirds in North America, for example, sometimes struggle against sparrow competition. That raises complex ecological questions. Is a sparrow an invasive species, or simply a species responding to human-altered environments? The answer is nuanced. In its native range, the house sparrow is simply part of the ecosystem. In introduced regions, it can disrupt existing balances, but its global presence is inseparable from human history. It is, in many ways, a biological footprint of civilization. Now let's look deeper into evolution itself. Genetic studies show that house sparrows have diverged slightly between regions. Urban populations may differ genetically from rural ones. Birds in colder climates may show subtle physiological adaptations for winter survival. Birds in hotter regions may demonstrate different breeding timing. Evolution never stops. Even within cities, microevolutionary pressures operate. Noise pollution selects for birds that can modify song frequencies. Light pollution may influence breeding cycles. Food availability may shape body size over generations. When we think of evolution, we often imagine ancient timescales, millions of years, but urban evolution can occur rapidly. Within decades, within centuries, sparrows are living examples of real-time adaptation. There is another fascinating possibility. Some scientists believe that sparrows may have co-evolved with humans in ways we are only beginning to understand. For instance, genetic adaptations related to starch digestion suggest that sparrows consuming agricultural grains over thousands of years may have developed metabolic adjustment. Similar changes occurred in domestic dogs, which evolved increased amylase production to digest human-associated starch diets. While sparrows are not domesticated, they may have undergone parallel evolutionary pressures. Human culture reshaped their food. Their food reshaped their biology. There is evolution intertwined with civilization, and that, despite this success story, modern urban environments are different from ancient villages. Early human settlements were porous. Buildings had cracks, gaps, wooden beams, grain was stored loosely, waste was organic. Modern cities are sealed, glass and steel dominate. Food waste is contained, green spaces shrink. Their shift creates a new evolutionary challenge. The same adaptability that once fueled sparrow expansion must now confront a different kind of urbanization. But evolution is not always fast enough, which brings us to a paradox. For thousands of years, human growth meant sparrow growth. Today, in some regions, human growth correlates with sparrow decline. Why? Because the type of human environment had changed. Urban heat islands may alter insect life cycles. Air pollution reduces insect abundance. Shield architecture eliminates nesting cavities. Noise stress impacts communication. Artificial light disrupts circadian rhythms. The partnership between sparrows and humans is not static, it evolves. Unlike any partnership, it can weaken. But to understand that fragility fully, we must first appreciate just how deeply impacted sparrows are in our global story. Imagine looking at a world map mark every major human settlement. Chances are you could place a sparrow silhouette nearby. Few wild birds have achieved this distribution without direct domestication. They did not need cages. They did not need selective breeding. They needed opportunity, and humanity provided it. In this way, the house sparrow is more than a bird. It is a witness. It has seen villages rise into cities. It has seen horse-drawn carts replaced by automobiles. It had watched railroads carve through landscapes. It has perched on telegraph wires, then power lines, then cell towers. It technologically altered its environment. Its late required adaptation, and still the sparrow remains small, unassuming, persistent, but the story is far from finished. Because evolution beside humans is an ongoing experiment, and sparrows are still participating. If forests once defined the sparrow's world, cities have become their vertical widener. To Earth, buildings are structures of steel, glass, brick, and concrete. To sparrows, they are cliffs, cased ledges, and sheltering canopies. Architecture unintentionally has become habitat, but not all architecture is equal. Older cities, especially those built with brick, wood, and layered roofing tiles, offer complexity. Cracks form, gaps appear, eaves create shadows. Vent openings provide cavities, and cavities are everything to a sparrow. House sparrows are cavity nesters by nature. In wild environments, they would drill tree holes, rock crevices, abandoned woodpecker nests, dense vine tangles in cities. They substitute with roof tiles, streetlight fixtures, traffic sign frames, storefront lettering, air conditioning units, gaps beneath, solar panels, drainage pipes. A narrow opening is ideal. It reduces predator access. It shields from wind. It stabilizes temperature. The sparrow is not an architect in the human sense, but it is a master of site selection. Nest selection begins weeks before eggs are laid. Males often claim potential nesting cavities first. They perch nearby, calling repeatedly. The call is both advertisement and declaration. This space is occupied. Females insect multiple sizes. They evaluate safety, depth, protection from rain, proximity to food, exposure to predators. In cities, a nesting site near a consistent food source, such as a busy restaurant or market, increases survival odds. Distance matters. Every feeding trip burns energy, and during breeding season, energy is everything. Once a site is chosen, nest construction begins. Unlike some birds that weave elaborate hanging nests, sparrows build loose, dome-shaped structures composed of dry courage, straw, feathers, paper fragments, string, plastic fibers, hair, fabric threads. Urban nests often reflect human materials. It is not uncommon to find secret filters woven into sparrow nests.